Is Bitcoin the sixth major technological revolution? We take a look at how Bitcoin compares to other paradigm-shifting technological revolutions of the past, and we highlight why a huge majority of people continue to be blind to it. Also, we compare Bitcoin to today's superior financial assets like bank stocks, commercial real estate, and fiat currencies. Spoiler alert, it's pretty harsh. Plus, have you ever wondered what your favorite sports star's salary is when priced in Bitcoin over the last 10 years? You're not going to want to miss this. Welcome to the Bitcoin Daily Show. I'm Dante Cook, head of Swan Business. Brandon Miller brought the house down with a banger last night.
Holder in Cleveland. Oh! What just happened? Brandon Miller happened!
And you know what else was a banger? Our Swan Signal Live episode earlier today with co-founder Brady Swinson, Bullish Case for Bitcoin author and Swan Vault engineer Vijay Boyapati, and senior research analyst Sam Callahan. It aired live today at 1 p.m. Eastern, and it was so good, I got to mention it here on today's show. The link is in the show notes. But back to the NBA. All of you who have been following the show know that I'm a sports fan. I'm a former athlete, and so I love doing things like I did today. Pricing the salary of the max player's contract in Bitcoin over the last 10 years. And the results, although surprising, probably shouldn't be. The NBA salary cap priced in Bitcoin starting in 2012 has decreased from 8,676,233 Bitcoin to just 1,946 Bitcoin today. Steph Curry's salary, when priced in Bitcoin, has dropped from 14,245 Bitcoin to just 742 Bitcoin today over the last 7 seasons. Despite what the numbers tell you, there are people who are still completely blind or willfully ignorant to Bitcoin. In the first quarter alone, there were $15 billion in assets under management acquired by large Wall Street institutions in Bitcoin ETFs alone. IBIT and Fidelity have had 62 straight days of inflows, already putting them in a class of the greatest funds of all time. Or people still neglect that Bitcoin as a payments technology has scaled better and more efficiently than any other payments network in the world, with no funding, no government backing it, and no people in between. Over the last decade, transaction fees priced in Bitcoin have actually been slightly down or relatively flat. That's despite of the number of addresses going from 0 to 1.3 billion since inception. Or the fact that this asset class, which was priced at 1 penny per Bitcoin, is now worth $70,000 per Bitcoin, and it has a $1.3 trillion market cap. Technology theorists like Carlota Perez, who famously created a framework for looking at technological innovations through time, still cannot see Bitcoin for what it is. In a response to Swan CEO Corey Clipson, this is what Carlota had to say. I strongly disagree with any attempt at using my theory to blow up Bitcoin into a technological revolution. It is an individual technology that could or might not have a significant future, but it's minuscule next to any of the multi-technology revolutions. We'll get back to Carlota later. Or we can go to our favorite friend of the show, Peter Schiff, who says that Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme for greater fools, and he would rather own trading cards instead.
We got a kilo of gold, right? What does a kilo of gold go for today?
Oh, I don't know. How many ounces in a kilo? I forget.
What is it?
Gold ounces in a...
So this is...
2.2 pounds is a kilo. 16
So that's a
ounces.
kilo of gold, right? So this is right now $77,000, right?
All right, so you giving that to me?
No, I'm not.
Is that
It's
a
a
gift?
prop.
or-
It's a prop. You can really hurt somebody with this with the weight of it, right?
I know. You should see how much my bracelet weighs.
Yeah.
It's like I get a workout with this thing.
So that
Here,
right there.
hand me-
So you have this here, which is kilo of gold, right?
Yeah,
you got
but you-
these collectible cards, one of ones. Each of these are between $1 million to, I don't know, $500,000 to $1 million
Really?
cards. So you have choice. You got $1 million of gold. You have $1 million of collectible cards, but you got $1 million of Bitcoin on this phone when you carry. Okay. Do you see the argument on how they sell Bitcoin transferable? If you had a choice between $1 million between the Bitcoin in your wallet, the gold, or the collectible cards, what do you choose?
Well, I don't know that much about the collectible card market. I figure that the spreads are probably pretty wide there, and the market is very dependent on the collector demand. I mean, whether There are people who want to buy those cards or not. I mean, it's a unique market. I have a good friend of mine in Puerto Rico has made a ton of money on cards. Now he's in jerseys. He's buying the jerseys of the players. But look, I don't know that market, so I would just take the gold. I mean, the gold is pretty stable. I think the price is going a lot higher, very liquid. I don't have to worry about a lot of different factors that might impact the value of those collectible cards. But I would take those cards over the Bitcoin.
You would take the cards over to Bitcoin.
Well, I don't think the Bitcoin has any real value at all. I think it's just a speculative mania. I mean, sure, there are fools out there who will buy Bitcoin who don't understand that it has no value. And as long as there's a supply of greater fools, the fools that bought earlier can sell out to a greater fool who buys later. But, this is a...
Do you think Michael Saylor and BlackRock, they're fools?
This is a blockchain letter. Like a chain letter, only with a blockchain. It's a digital Ponzi or a pyramid.
I guess people want to invest in more established industries, like the banking industry, where established firms like Morgan Stanley stock can drop over 5% in a day. Their stock dropped because they're being probed for criminal activity. But I thought Bitcoin was used for criminals. I guess people still want to hold fiat currencies, like the Turkish lira, whose value has gone to zero when priced in Bitcoin. I guess people still want to invest in fancy DeFi projects like Uniswap, who have fancy offices like this, and who also received a Wells notice from the SEC. Wait, I thought it was decentralized. They can get mail? I guess people still want commercial real estate because you can value it on its cash flows or its future occupancy, or the fact that tons of people still want to work in offices these days. Like the largest office building in St. Louis, which sold for just $3.5 million. Less than a 2-bedroom condo in Manhattan, which also sold for $205 million in 2005. That's a 98.5% drop, even more than Bitcoin's drawdowns. But Bitcoin is the Ponzi scheme, right? I don't hear Peter Zeihan calling commercial real estate a Ponzi. Look, don't listen to people who are unwilling to change their positions or their minds, or don't approach new things with an air of humility. Instead of not giving their expert opinions on things they know nothing about, they continue to double down on bad takes. And in order to save their pride, continue to dive down on bad takes and bad narratives. Bitcoin has proven itself nearly every 10 minutes for the past 15 years. It is a stable and reliable savings technology. But I do want to say something, because I know that there's many of you who are being exposed to Bitcoin through ETFs or large ads like iBits on Bloomberg's website. But buying an ETF is not buying real Bitcoin. You're buying an IOU or a tracker to the price movement of Bitcoin. You're giving cash, and when you sell the ETF, you're receiving cash back. I don't understand why, when the effort of buying, holding, and securing Bitcoin are just as easy as anything else that you've already been doing. Listen to what Swan Private Rep and Sunshine King Stephen Lupka have to say about this exactly.
So I'm going to ask you a dumb question, because I think this is something that a lot of people don't understand. If you have the ETF, is your only upside in dollars, or do you have any sort of, is there an IOU on the underlying asset of Bitcoin?
So it is backed by actual Bitcoin, right? Like, we're not talking derivatives here, but it is completely cash denominated. You are only going in as dollars and you are only coming out as dollars. At no point can you take possession of the underlying asset. And even if you don't care about censorship resistance, I think there's an economic case for why that's the wrong choice. You're paying a huge fee to not actually own a valuable asset, which gives you utility. Like, it just doesn't make sense, or at least it's not optimal, right? Like, are there cases where people should own the ETF, where they can only own the ETF, where by regulation they can only own the ETF? Sure, of course, right? But you don't need to pay BlackRock a percentage of your Bitcoin every year to get less utility and value than you would just buying Bitcoin. Why do people do it? I think it's because they're intimidated of actually buying real Bitcoin. And I can understand that, right? Like, that's not like incomprehensible to me. It can seem daunting at first. It can seem like something that is hard, new, they don't understand it. But I think one of the messages that people in this industry need to have is that actually you can do it. It is easy. It is comprehensible. It's a lot like opening a brokerage account and then, figuring out a new phone, like a new piece of technology. If you can operate a smartphone and you can log into an email address or a Fidelity brokerage account, you can self-custody Bitcoin.
I get a ton of questions about custody. So if you have questions about custody, how to buy my first Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, or take custody of my Bitcoin, send me an email at daily@swanbitcoin.com, and I personally will respond to you and get back with you to help you on your journey. Speaking of buying Bitcoin, Swan makes it super easy for you, your family, and your friends to get started on their Bitcoin journey. You can download the Swan app and get onboarded in just a few minutes. And you know what's even better? Your first $10,000 in purchases have no fee. That's right. The first $10,000 are fee free. No, I didn't say fee. I said fee free. Stop playing around, don't dilly-dally, and start stacking sats today by downloading the Swan mobile app at swan.com/app. Or you can go to any major app store and search Swan Bitcoin, and you'll be able to get started on your Bitcoin journey in just a few minutes. Or maybe you don't see the big picture that's happening. Let me try to convince you one more time. Swan CEO Corey Clipston makes a good point in his reply back to Carlotta Perez. Bitcoin is just in the beginning phases of a multi-decade long technological revolution. We're in year 15 of what likely will be a 50 to 80 year technological revolution. Let's take a look back at some of the other revolutions that we've gone through, like the telecoms and communications revolution, starting in the late 70s. Or, if you go back a little bit further, the mass production of oil and automobiles in the early 1900s, or the introduction of steel and electricity in the late 1800s. Going back a little bit further, you have the introduction of a logistics industry in cross-country transportation with the invention of steamboats and railroads in the early 1800s. The Industrial Revolution itself started just after the Civil War in the late 1700s. So, just to recap, these innovations and things take a lot longer than you think, but the actualization of the full effect and impact of these technological revolutions aren't really felt for several decades after they began. And when they began, they're very small, they're very nascent, they're impractical. A lot of people in the early 1900s didn't want a car. They wanted better buggies and better horses. So you can opt for commercial real estate or financial stocks or fiat currency, better buggies and better horses. Or you can get in the car and start stacking today at swan.com by downloading the mobile app. And with that, we're signing off for today. This is Dante Cook with swan.com. Happy stacking.